The episode unfolds with an uneasy calm at Las Encinas, the kind that settles before something breaks. Chloe moves through the halls with practiced confidence, but the glances she shares with Sara suggest a deeper storm. Their friendship has shifted into something harder to name, charged with unspoken feelings and resentment left over from choices neither of them fully owns. Raul, meanwhile, watches from the margins, aware that he stands between them without ever being invited into the center. A late-night school event becomes the pressure point. Music hums softly in the background, lights reflecting off polished floors, and conversations blur into a low buzz. Chloe and Sara finally find themselves alone, the silence heavier than any argument they've had. Words spill out, about trust, about jealousy, about how everything feels like it's slipping out of control. There's no shouting, just honesty sharpened by pain. In that fragile moment, they lean closer, driven less by desire than by the need to understand each other. The closeness is brief but meaningful, a spark that says more about confusion and longing than romance. Raul witnesses the aftermath rather than the moment itself. The look on his face is not anger but realization. He understands that whatever exists between Chloe and Sara is complicated, and that he has been trying to fit into a story that was never written for him. Later, when he confronts Chloe, the conversation is restrained but raw. She admits she doesn't have answers, only feelings she can't neatly explain. Raul listens, absorbing the truth even as it hurts, choosing honesty over denial. By the episode's end, the trio is changed. Sara pulls back, questioning what she wants and whether closeness always leads to damage. Chloe stands alone for a moment, stripped of bravado, finally acknowledging that control has been an illusion. Raul walks away with quiet dignity, deciding to step out of the triangle rather than be consumed by it. The episode doesn't offer resolution, only the promise of consequences. Relationships are fractured, boundaries blurred, and Las Encinas once again proves that emotional entanglements can be just as dangerous as any secret. The second episode opens in the quiet aftermath of the previous night, where nothing has been said openly but everything feels exposed. At Las Encinas, Chloe carries herself with the same bold confidence, yet her eyes betray a restless edge. The brief closeness with Sara lingers in her thoughts, not as a clear memory but as a question she can't silence. Sara, on the other hand, keeps her distance, masking her confusion behind controlled smiles and short answers, trying to convince herself that pulling away will restore balance. Raul senses the shift immediately. Conversations that once felt natural now seem forced, and shared spaces are filled with tension rather than comfort. He attempts to reconnect with Sara, hoping familiarity might ground her, but she responds with guarded politeness. It's not rejection, exactly, it's hesitation. Raul realizes that whatever is happening isn't about him alone, and that understanding cuts deeper than jealousy. A group gathering later that day becomes the emotional center of the episode. What should be casual turns uncomfortable as unspoken feelings float between them. Chloe and Sara keep finding each other across the room, their glances charged with unresolved emotion. When they finally speak, it's away from everyone else, voices low and careful. Sara confronts Chloe about boundaries, about how one moment can complicate everything that follows. Chloe doesn't argue, instead, she admits she's tired of pretending she knows what she wants. The honesty disarms Sara, making it harder to walk away. Raul enters the conversation unexpectedly, not to accuse but to clarify. He asks questions that force both girls to reflect on their choices. His calm presence shifts the dynamic, grounding the moment in reality rather than impulse. For a second, it feels like they might find common ground, but emotions don't resolve that neatly. Sara chooses distance, saying she needs space before things get more complicated. Chloe lets her go, understanding that holding on too tightly would only cause more damage. The episode ends with each character alone in their thoughts. Sara questions whether restraint is strength or fear. Chloe confronts the discomfort of vulnerability, realizing that confidence can't protect her from emotional consequences. Raul, though hurt, gains clarity. Sometimes stepping back is the only way to keep your self-respect intact. The triangle remains unresolved, but the lines have been redrawn, setting the stage for deeper conflict ahead. The third episode begins with pressure tightening around all three, as if Las Encinas itself is watching and waiting. Rumors ripple quietly through the school, not explicit, but suggestive enough to make every glance feel loaded. Sara feels the weight of it most. She hates being talked about, especially when she isn't even sure what the truth is herself. Her instinct is control, distance, silence. But silence only amplifies what's left unsaid. Chloe, meanwhile, leans into defiance. She refuses to explain herself to anyone, least of all classmates who thrive on speculation. Yet beneath that sharp exterior, she's unsettled. What started as emotional confusion now feels like exposure. She tries to approach Sara, not to reignite anything, but to clear the air. Each attempt is interrupted, by friends, by timing, by fear. The distance between them grows, heavy with unfinished conversations. Raul's role shifts in this episode. Instead of reacting, he begins observing. He notices how Sara withdraws when Chloe is near, how Chloe's confidence cracks in small, unguarded moments. During a private conversation, Raul tells Sara that pretending nothing happened won't erase its impact. His words aren't accusatory, they're honest. Sara snaps back at first, then softens. She admits she's scared, not of Chloe, but of what acknowledging her feelings might mean. Later that night, circumstances force Chloe and Sara into the same space. There's no audience, no distractions. Just the truth waiting between them. The conversation is tense but necessary. Sara confesses that the moment they shared wasn't a mistake, but it also wasn't something she's ready to face. Chloe responds with rare vulnerability, saying she never meant to pull Sara into chaos, she just didn't want to keep lying to herself. The closeness returns briefly, charged and fragile, ending not in a kiss but in a pause that feels just as intense. Raul arrives too late to interrupt but soon enough to sense what passed between them. Instead of confrontation, he chooses clarity. He tells Chloe that he cares for her, but he won't compete with something unresolved. It's a quiet goodbye, not dramatic, but final. Chloe doesn't stop him. She knows this is a consequence, not a punishment. By the episode's end, the triangle fractures into something more honest but more painful. Sara walks away still uncertain, Chloe stands alone but emotionally exposed, and Raul regains control by choosing himself. Nothing is fixed, but for the first time, nothing is hidden either.